Welcome to Badger Beer Report. I'm here to welcome you to our first edition of today's of the Mix Six. And the Mix Six is a conversation between two or more Badger Beer Report correspondents and or hosts about six wonderful Wisconsin beer topics. You can see over there we got this episode 6. We're going to have a review of 2025 so far in the Wisconsin beer scene. We're going to have the openings. We're going to talk about the closings. We're going to talk about the announcements that we saw. We are going to talk about brewery visits that we made that were great, and we will talk about the near future. So without further ado, and without a proper transition, I'm going to bring my colleague and friend and in-house brewery expert, Joel Geyer. What's up, Joe?
How's it going, Greg? It's been a little while. It's been, not as we had a little bit of a lull here with news, which is why we kind of you came up with this kind of idea. Well, yeah, it was not a bad thing, but we were hot and heavy there with the news breaking and coming out all the time for a couple months there. It seemed like from pretty much spring up through recently. So
yeah. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic, which is a review of 25. One of the things here that surprised a lot of us, and I'll get Joel's opinion here in a second, but what surprised a lot of us was the announcements and the openings. And after, especially how we ended 2024, 25, it came in pretty bright looking, y'all. We had, change of federal government that wasn't, for a lot of people wasn't looking great. There was, there's still fear of tariffs. There's all kinds of, we're still in a pandemic haze, I would say. There's a lot of things going on. There's, with the breweries, there's a lot of things happening, but we had a really, really exciting, I think, and positive start to this year. Joel's going to bring up some facts in a little bit, but overall, I was encouraged, but we were still in the Badger Beer Report bunker, for lack of a better word. We're still like, wait, what's going on here? I mean, we want to feel happy, but it's kind of hard to. So, Joel, what was your initial review of 25? And then we'll get to the piece that you would like to talk to about the kind of overall scene. And
I would say the word would be cautious optimism, or the words, I guess, cautious optimism. Because you are right. Like, I mean, with how 24 ended, I can't say that I was expecting 25 to have anywhere close to this many openings. And a good number of them have been secondary locations, but there's also been a lot of full brand new brewery openings and more coming, which we will get to towards the end of the show, where we have a whole bunch that are going to be opening here within the next 4 to 5 months for sure, if not the next month or two. So I think that we have still seen our fair share of closing. We'll talk about the stats here. I think Wisconsin has probably slightly outpaced the average in terms of comparing openings to closings, but I'm not positive on that. We may be pretty close in regards to the percentages of how many openings versus closings. If you include additional locations, I definitely think we'd be above it. But yeah, I think we've also learned from experience, though, that just because a brewery is expanding doesn't necessarily mean that they're here for the long haul. We've seen a couple of those where we've had multiple breweries that look to expand to a secondary location, and for one reason or another, it did not go well, and it not only signaled the end of that location, but the end of the entire brewery. So that is a small trend to kind of keep our eyes on as we see more breweries working on expansions and secondary locations in other local markets and in other markets away from where they're located. So yeah, but I think overall cautious optimism because of how many openings we've already had and how many openings are going to be coming here by the end of the summer and through the fall for sure.
And we'll get to those in a second. You wanted to talk about this though, Joel.
Yeah. So these are the reports from the Brewers Association. They obviously are going to, for the most part, try to put positive spins on a lot of this stuff. Because as it says there in the first bullet point, there was a decline in overall volume and in the number of operating breweries. But they do note that half of the respondents at least reported production growth. I wish it said, it did not say what percentage, like how many respondents there were. I don't believe, which would have been nice to know, like what percentage of breweries and like from what parts of the country are these respondents. You know, if there was a more thorough breakdown on that. I do have a request in for an interview with their head of like the statistical stuff. So I'm hoping we can get a little more insight on that. But that they said that for the most part, as you already alluded to, you know, between COVID, changes in the economy, that those challenges have essentially kind of persisted and remained pretty similar to what we've seen. And when they said that a majority reported production growth, what they're saying is 49% reported growth and 47% reported a decline, which isn't necessarily like a big number. And then it overall showed that there was a slight drop in total number of tap rooms and brew pubs, which I think, did it say this was the first year? It's kind of blocked right now. I believe that this was the first year that was the case in a long time. Because for so long, obviously, we had this meteoric rise and it was just continuing to grow and grow and grow. So we kind of knew at some point it was going to kind of peak out a bit. But I don't think the losses were as substantial and as this is the end as what most people maybe thought. Microbrews said largest drop off, lost 3%. Because in total, the number of craft breweries, at least by their measures, dropped down 1% from it was like 90, a little over 9,300 down to a little over 92. So they lost, you know, overall loss of like 100. And I would say though the one thing that they note was that a lot of the best kind of growth, I guess you would say, in terms of the number of breweries that were opening, are these smaller neighborhood type breweries. Like you're not seeing these larger breweries kind of come onto the scene that are distributing regionally and, you know, growing rapidly, that you're seeing more of these breweries just trying to find their niche, which can be not only with the beer, because that is often the case, but a niche within an actual neighborhood or within a town. Because we've seen that a lot in Wisconsin is that a lot of these small towns of, you know, 10,000 people, sometimes even smaller than that, getting their first brewery and getting their one brewery, which I think is a really cool thing. And I'm hoping to see more of that as we move forward. But yeah, cautious optimism would be my main takeaway.
Yeah, and it was a good first half of the year. I would say. I don't think anybody could disagree with that. So we'll just jump right in here to the fun part of this, which is the openings. Anything, you've been out to a couple of these, and I think I've been to one or two. And other than that, though, just as a collection, as you said, I like a lot of these are in brewery desert. Some of them are in brewery desert. Some of them are on Main Street of the town that they're in, which I love. Walkable. You can ingrain yourself into the community. Anything, because we talk about this. Listen, y'all follow us on the Brewery Report, so y'all know what we think about generally. And y'all have heard all these names, so we're not going to dwell on them. But what kind of jumps off on you about these, and then I'll say a little bit, and then we will get to the closings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to count here. I think I counted like 9 of these that were opening up, and it's the first brewery, and it's the first brewery in that town, at least, in forever, which I think is kind of points to this idea. And one of them was, Fond du Lac. It wasn't like this was this small little burg. Fond du Lac's not necessarily a metropolis, but it's certainly not your, wide patch in the road type of small town. So that was great to get to see that. I'll talk more on them later. It's nice to see some areas where, you know, the far, like way up north with Boulder Junction and hopefully eventually Lost Apostle as well, out there in Prairie du Chien, like, because obviously a majority of the concentration is around kind of the greater Milwaukee area, within like half an hour to 45 minutes of Milwaukee. And then we've seen a decent amount kind of starting to pop up around the Lake Winnebago, Green Bay area. So it's nice to see some other parts of the state getting in on the action. Hopefully we continue to see that disbursement, because I like to see the map more spread out, because I think that's good for the state if we have more of these smaller breweries going into communities. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, we'll dive into deeper some of these later on, but in general, I think early on, we talked a lot about how a lot of these were secondary locations, but now we've seen even more as of in the last couple months of these full new breweries being announced and opening, which is really cool to see as well.
Yeah, the fun ones for me are the when I look at this too, outside of the new ones, you know, that just came out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but out of the dust actually. Let's talk about the ones that replaced ones that we lost. Bull Falls, you know, Mobcraft Resurrection. We had a couple, we had a Resurrection month or something, Lombardy. Yeah, so those are fun.
Last Ditch.
There's good, and that those are fun because those are going to be you know, replacing things that we've lost, or replacing breweries that we lost. So it'll be fun to see how each of them works their way into their new space. So whether they can gain what they had before.
Well, and it's interesting because two of the four that we mentioned are the same name, and one of those two, at least as of now, is like same branding and everything. Because obviously, Bull Falls seems like it's going to be a very different brewery, and that they have new logos and they're going to have different beers. The name is just going to be the only thing that remains. It's yet to be seen exactly what happens with Mobcraft. We'll dive into that a little bit later here, but the other two are obviously just full changes. But the spaces, you know, will be very familiar to local beer drinkers.
Yeah, and we forgot St. Francis too. Gotta remember them.
Right. Yeah, so that's 5. Yeah, that's another one that kept the name but changed the branding and all that kind of stuff. So.
We've seen it all. We've seen straight keeping the name. We've seen a little bit of a morph. We've seen whatever happened with Arnoggin. It's all, you know what I mean. It's really, you know, for our point of view, it's really, really fun. So this is not the fun part, but this is something that needs to be chronicled and needs to be talked about. And obviously, you know, for community, you know, for the communities that are lost, this one here, you know, obviously there's, you know, a couple big ones here. You know, just a little overview. And then, you know, Bloomer here, that's one that we could talk about. Expansion, you know, hurt, maybe hurt there. We can talk about 1840 in that manner. We have Arnoggin, but they were replaced. We have, you know, City Lights, but they were replaced. So this is really interesting. The Great Dane one is kind of interesting because, you know, we thought the Great Dane, or we do think that Great Dane has a strong, you know, grip on wherever they're at. You know, they're just a solid run brew pub and, you know, brewery, but that was kind of an odd one. What is that, Whitewater? We hardly knew you, or at least I hardly knew you.
The Whitewater brewery,
so thoughts on Hop and Barrel is the one that really got me the most, actually. Or even before 1840, there were some rumors about 1840, and there's definitely some public things that we know that was happening, but not behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. With the family sickness and everything. So like 1840 wasn't really a surprise. It was just really a big gut punch in my opinion. And then, but Hop and Barrel was a surprise for me. And Joe, what are your collective thoughts about the early closings, or the closings for the first half of 2025?
Yeah. So, I mean, it is obviously, I think 1840, you know, when we talk about like the expansion thing, the news kind of came out with that expansion did not go at all as they had hoped and planned, and that did not help. But I also think that we don't necessarily lump them. We cannot fully lump them in with that kind of scenario that we were discussing, simply because of, you know, the cancer diagnosis, everything that was going on. I think that played the bigger role. Bloomer was one that was it. How many months were they open in Eau Claire?
Yeah. 13 or something.
Because you can measure it in months.
13, yeah, both of them though. But yeah.
But well, I'm saying that like the one that because like they expanded into Eau Claire, was it even a full year? Was it a full year? Maybe 13 months. I can't remember.
It was like 13 months or something.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. It was in that range.
That was one where they may have overstepped a bit. I don't know the exact financials and how that all went down, but from the outside looking in, it seemed like they were doing fine in Bloomer. They made this move and decision to have a second location in Eau Claire, and it didn't take long before that all kind of fell apart. Looking at the map overall, the one thing that is kind of a slight bummer for me is that I talked about the dispersion in the state map, and in the closings map, you have 4 if you count the 2 Bloomer locations that close in Western Wisconsin, and there have been no openings in that direction. So like that part of the state, as you moved on the western side of the state as you move over towards Minnesota and the Twin Cities, has seen foreclosures and no openings and no announcements either.
Right.
And Hop and Barrel was one that I think actually had a pretty good following. They were at all the festivals. They distributed pretty well, I feel like, in both Wisconsin and I think in Minnesota. So that one, I would say out. Well, I wouldn't say outside of 1840 because for me, like losing Enlightened was another one that was a real big bummer for me, personally, because I love the Cream City bricks. And some of the other ones, like you said, I mean, Bevy, City Service, Whitewater, those are ones that I didn't really have much experience with. Black Rose, I know we kind of covered the escapades with the owner there and the issues there. The beer was never the issue, in my opinion. Maybe the very specific nature of the styles and everything could have played a part, but yeah, overall, I would say there wasn't necessarily a full rhyme or reason outside of just knowing what the overall factors that breweries are going through currently. That would be my main takeaways, is that you're going to lose some of these breweries because in the business world, not everyone is going to bat 1,000. And right now, it used to be that you didn't have to, do a whole lot to keep a brewery afloat when you opened it. You just had to make decent enough beer and things would work out. But as more and more breweries opened, the business side of it has become more and more important, which I think is what has caused some of these closures to happen, both in Wisconsin and in other parts of the country.
And that is very, very real. Nicely put, my friend. Let's see. What's up next? Oh, no. That's not up next. This is up next. Oh, announcements. Yeah. We had some very, very fun and surprising and interesting announcements too.
Yeah.
Announcements are almost like openings. And here is basically the announcements that we got, y'all, early this year. Breweries that we didn't know that were in development that said, hey, we're out there. The only one I think we're only kind of questioning is Dew City. They might have been in development probably last year.
Yeah.
And maybe it was new to us, but we shouted it out, so then we called it an announcement. We took this one on our own, but I'm pretty sure Dew City was working. They've been working on it a little bit before we caught them. And shout out to we remember our contact at Dew City, because they contacted us. Otherwise, we still may not know about them. We probably would, but
yeah, no, I think that's one that I think is one of the more exciting announcements, like I said, in terms of bringing a brewery to a brewery desert. Because I know we talked about that on both when I was on the podcast as well as with our show here, that they are out there where there's really no one else. And his name, Paul, that's his name.
There you go.
The owner there. That's Paul. Right, Paul. I was in the head. I was going through the Rolodex. Paul.
Yeah, I was going through it too.
And so this is a brewery that is not near anything else, not just in Wisconsin, but even if you cross the border into Iowa, you're like at least half an hour from anything resembling a brewery. Mm-hmm. So that one is really filling in this huge gap. And then I would say, I'm excited about Lombardi just because of the Packer theme, but then Clockwork is the one that is the most intriguing to me out of all of these, because when we covered that, the scope of what they are trying to do, the people behind it that helped with Ope initially, and some of what it sounds like they're going to be trying to do with beer and with their space, and the fact that it's in Menominee Falls, which we've talked about. Menominee Falls currently has 2 breweries, but they are both auxiliary secondary tap rooms. They do not have their own brewery as of now. So all of those factors, I think, would put Clockwork at the top of this list for me. That is one that is going to be a little further down the line. I think the only ones on this list that I think are going to be opening, Lombardi should be opening soon. Bull Falls is already open. Bull Falls already has the beer garden stuff, but I'm thinking they should be open with the rest of it, hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah,
I mean, and then Mobcraft and Gravity Box are kind of should be coming soonish, but we don't really.
Gravity Box, what they just posted was not encouraging.
No, not for it to be open in the next
for the summer.
By the summer, that was kind of our takeaway, and maybe they'll surprise us, but that was our main takeaway from it.
Yeah, fall for that one. I'm saying, look, we don't listen. Gravity Box, you'd like to reach out to us and tell us, otherwise. It's cool. But we're just reading into what y'all posted yesterday, one of them recently, and it doesn't look great for at least the next month. Lombardi claiming that they're close. That will be fun.
Yep.
We know it's next year.
Yep.
Dew City, we kind of think. I'm thinking.
Well, they might not even have a tap room right away.
Yeah, right. Bull Falls is open right now. Their beer garden's open 2 days a week, y'all. So head out there. That sounds like they had a good time and a good run. I see 2 expansions here. I see 2 expansions here, which are interesting. Again, given in that context, but again, we can name a number, Joel, of expansions that have worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's about Venture, Lion's Tail. I mean, it could just go on and on and on. The Explorium. What is it? Bruce. I'm sorry. Who did Explorium buy? Cool City, right? No.
Good City.
Good City. Yeah, y'all got me with all these different breweries with the city name in them. But I mean, we see. I might feel that appears to be going well. So because I believe they just opened up the Deer District one was opened up recently or something I saw. So they're working those kinks out too. So the announcements are interesting. I think we got the announcement about them buying a Good City this year, so we don't have that, and that's why we put others, because there was actually a plethora of really interesting announcements and different business practices here. Anything else about the announcements for the first half of the year, Joel, that excited you or didn't excite you? Or
no, I think overall, like I said, I mean, Clockwork is a longer term one that I would say is still the most exciting. In the immediate future, I'm anxious about Lombardi, since it's, a new brewery coming in here to Milwaukee, as well as seeing what Mobcraft is. Because, we talked about the 2 of these are expansions, and 2 of them are brand rejuvenation and reworks. And so I'm curious to see what Mobcraft looks like whenever those doors are reopened.
Yeah, and they were talking about being open in April, and now we are here. Now we're approaching August. So they have been caught up in something. We've heard that they've been caught up in some city permit, all kinds of messy things. So, but they're still planning to open. They're still planning to be the next, Mobcraft 2.0. So at least we still have that to look forward to, which we don't have to look forward to, but we are looking back, Joel, is our brewery visits, our personal brewery visits from our Wisconsin.
Yes,
we're not even going to get into Wisconsin. We're not even going to go. look, I'm trying to keep this to like 30 minutes. Joel and I would be 30 hours if we talked about Joel's other ones outside of Wisconsin, but we're going to stay in Wisconsin. And we've had some fun here early in this year. I've had a lot of fun early in this year, but the most fun I think maybe not the most fun, but a big fun we had was not that was where's my thing? Was our visit to Gathering Place to brew a beer and to present it to y'all at Lager and Friends. One of our biggest event as an entity here, going on 4 years. Joel's been with us for 2 now. Getting there, Joel. Wow, isn't it? It's already been what, 1.5 years, 2.5 years, or something like that. We had a great time. And we want to thank the Gathering Place fellas. And just the whole company for being awesome and welcoming us and brewing our first beer. And not only brewing our first beer, completely nailing everything about the beer. It was just excellent. So, Joel, one of our only brewery visits together. What do you have to say about this? I see your son there. I see my son there. So yeah, it was good times. What's going on, buddy?
We did visit a couple in Madison at the beginning of the year too, and so we did visit both of those together. Giant Jones Delta, and Vintage. Yeah, so we did 3. We did 3 at the beginning of the year. But 4, I mean, 4. Yeah, with Gathering Place. Yeah, so I want to also think. I mean, Gathering Place made it so easy for us. In all aspects of it, when it came in terms of the actual brewing the beer and everything, and being very welcoming with my son coming back there and getting to smell the stuff and help scoop out the spent grains, and that was a lot of fun. Because your son there as well, but he's also kind of the more adult, where it's like that's a little bit different than allowing the 4-year-old to come back into the brewing area. So that was really cool for me to get to share that with him. And then in terms of getting to serve it, I mean, like we said, I mean, my goodness, I think we were going to enjoy the beer. We knew that, Gathering Place makes good beer. We knew that was going to be, even though this wasn't a recipe they had made before or anything, that this was going to turn to be a good beer, but it exceeded our expectations for sure. Like, it was one of the best Vienna lagers I think I've ever had. And I'm genuinely like not even saying that. Like, I mean, we were talking about it at the time, like we were like, it's going to sound like we're just sucking up to our own beer, but genuinely it was one of the best. And we actually had a handful of people from the festival say that it was their favorite beer of the fest at the Lager and Friends Festival, which there were some bangers,
full bangers there.
So, I think it was so well done. With the malt notes and everything, and the aroma was phenomenal, and the bready biscuity aroma, it was just so good. And I think the fact that all 4 of us loved it really spoke to the quality, because it's a style that I feel like it's, when you're talking about craft beer people, it's one of the safer styles. Like, it's not like a super hoppy IPA or a huge stout where like people maybe like Vienna style is more down the middle. But even for that, the fact that all 4 of us loved it, I think points to the quality of it. And it sounds like hopefully that will be moving forward. That's going to become a new norm with Gathering Place. And for folks out there, we're also working on maybe doing some other collabs in the future down the road. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
The fact that we all agreed on beers, and I don't know, there's been a few times that we've drank together, and we've definitely not agreed on all the beers.
At least not quality. At least not all of us being like, this is like a very very
or like there's some things like, oh, I like this one, oh, I don't like this one that much. We were like, oh no, this is a banger. We couldn't find anything to like. And again, we all can be very, very critical of our beers. We all are very, on some level, we really are. We're not, I wouldn't call us a group of snobs. I say we're open-minded about going into almost any beer, but at the same time, we definitely don't agree on, we just don't like that. So it was just like, that was really fun. So one last shout out to Gathering Place. We hope to be doing this next year. Shout out to Joe. and everybody there. We just again, they're just great. So I'm gonna go to my favorite brewery visits. I'm gonna scream through them, and then we'll get to Joel's. So these two here were great. I went to let me just put myself on the big screen here. So yeah, I went to the first one, y'all, is Hop Garden here in Belleville. I was there a couple weeks ago when it opened. I really don't like going to breweries when they open, because a lot of times, the first day, crowds, the beer's not, sometimes not brewed there. They're getting the kinks out. You know what I mean? All that, the POS system may not work. All those different things. It was just flawless actually. There, when I went in, I was there at like 3. It's just a beautiful spot. It backs out to a nice park. They got the food going, y'all. They have, they're gonna have smoked meats inside. They got a nice pizzeria. It's on Main Street, so they got the Main Street amenities. It's just really great. Hopville, Belleville, really great. On a right there, that was my brewery Nonic trip. And I got to meet Ryan there because I had check out our podcast on that, y'all, and you can find out. You can talk. You hear me talk about how Ryan was excellent customer service wise. And I had some leaky beers, and he just replaced them and gave them to me for free and all that. So that was just a great time. Two of my other favorite ones were McFleshman's, which is one of the what's going on here? McFleshman's is one of my favorite breweries in Wisconsin. And it's really all from that one trip there in January when I went up to it. It was just great. And Bobby and Allison were there, and it was just a great, wonderful visit. If you haven't been to McFleshman's, you're missing out. Period. Gravity Box. I visited Gravity Box the same weekend I visited Brewery Nonic when I went up north. Gravity Box completely surprised me, blindsided me on the quality of the beers, the welcomeness of that place. It's a really nice place. Main Street again. And yeah, I just had too much fun at Gravity Box. And then these two were ones I weren't expecting, or I knew Nuth was going to be pretty good, and Nuth is pretty good. They got the brick oven pizza in there. They got some nice wings. Really nice spot to just move there. 10 years old now, Nuth Brewing, in Ripon. If y'all anywhere near Ripon, which I don't, unless you live there, I'm not sure why you would be, respectfully. But if you are, head out to Nuth. It's excellent. And then my last one, which I didn't think was going to make it, Joel, is Broken Bat. Broken Bat in Milwaukee. I'm not even a baseball fan, but you get immersed in the baseball theme, and it's just a really, really great place. And their beers have been elevated recently, I am told. But when I walked in there, the beers were fine. There was no one in there. It was kind of weird when you walk into a brewery, there's no one in there, but it was literally like a minute after they opened. But it's just a really nice space, and I almost left there without them telling me about the baseball field and everything. So if y'all ever near Broken Bat in Milwaukee, it is a must hit. If you're a baseball fan and you haven't been there, I'm sorry. You have to go
play wiffle, man.
It is just excellent. So yeah, Joel, those are my fun brewery visits. And I got yours keyed up right here, buddy. What's going on?
I'm having my this is actually the Something Amber, the Vienna Lager from McFleshman's. I didn't even shout out what I was drinking the beginning, and that's the Hefeweizen from Oliphant. So a couple of I grabbed beers from a couple of Wisconsin breweries that I normally don't drink any beer from, and that we don't normally necessarily give shout outs to. So
I visited both.
Right here, the Hefeweizen surprised me how much I like that. That was really good. And so yeah,
Oliphant. I visited both of them ironically this year. But so Joel, you had this visit. I know you love this one.
Yeah. Why don't you just make it small so that way the pictures are bigger for mine? I don't need to be blown up. Yeah. There we go. I'd rather have the picture of Lyle up there. Lyle was awesome. He's the owner and brewer there at Fond du Lac, and this was the one I talked about opening up in that brewery desert there. Fond du Lac, I believe, was the largest city in Wisconsin that didn't have a brewery. They haven't had a brewery since old times. And I was there pretty close after they opened. It was only a couple weeks, I think, after they had opened. And Lyle was already dialed in, man, with those beers. And he was still just doing like simple stuff to essentially calibrate the system, which, by the way, he fully designed the system by himself. Like he designed every element of it for like specifications and everything. He's got a really interesting brewing history. I need to reconnect with him. We had talked when I was there about doing a podcast. And I had messaged him, and we need to reconnect to get that ball rolling on that, because he's got a really interesting story to tell. And the beers were just awesome. They had an amber that was amazing.
Out of the gate is kind of wild too.
Yeah,
if your beers are great out of the gate, that's wild.
Well, and right now, and he is planning on doing some like barrel aging and some like maybe some mixed firm, like some like more out there kind of stuff. But right now he's just dialing the system with very simple recipes, but he's absolutely nailing them. Like his amber ale was amazing. He did the only one that he had a vanilla porter that was really good. His pale ale was absolutely phenomenal. That one might have actually been my favorite, I think, from my visit there. It's an old auto dealership and meat packing factory. The upstairs is this big event space, and they have the old automobile elevator still that's in use for that they can take stuff up and down. This is one that, you know, being on the south end of Lake Winnebago, you know, folks, if you're driving along that stretch between, you know, Milwaukee up to Oshkosh, Appleton, or if you're up by the Green Bay area, like this is one that I would definitely start keeping your eye on and seeking out if you can. Especially the longer they are open, the more beers he's going to be offering. Because, you know, early on, I think those were all 6 beers that he had on tap when I visited, I believe. And he's going to have more eventually. And so as this place grows, I am, you know, going in, I had tempered expectations, but now I think the sky's the limit for Fond du Lac Beer Company.
Excellent. And you had another fun visit at this one.
Mm-hmm. So this was Station 1 Brewing up there in Swamico. And this is in the old fire station. It was originally built in 1955 as the community center. Then they expanded the building to add on the garage bays at 2 different times. And they have a lot of the old firehouse equipment in there still, you know, hanging from the ceiling and whatnot. Beer was very solid. I you know, was a big fan. They had a Grodzisky, the smoked ale that was phenomenal, or smoked lager. And then what was the other? Oh, and they also had a really good honey ale. And I was there with my friend Zach. We were there right before I went to Titletown for a book event, which, by the way, going up to their upper level and their sky deck at Titletown, I had not done that before, which was really cool. But the other cool thing with Station 1 is if you're looking through that big opening in the tap room, the other side of the tap room, they just recently opened up an in-house coffee shop. So you can kind of get, you know, a mix of beverages and food and whatnot. So that was really cool to see. And they are the only show there in town in Swamico. So if you're up in the Green Bay area, though, I you know, take the time. It's hardly less than 10 minutes, I feel like, from Green Bay, you know, hardly 10 minutes or whatever. So definitely worth a visit for sure.
Excellent. And this not only surprised me that it made your list, I'm pretty sure it surprised you when you rolled up there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I mostly was focused on the places I visited for the first time. And I haven't been to that many new Wisconsin breweries in 2025, but this one did surprise me. I remember messaging you guys because this is Voodoo Brewing, which I know we kind of covered. This is the chain brew pub type of spot here based out of Pennsylvania that opened up in downtown Delafield early this year. And I went in with like, okay, it's hopefully going to be a little bit better than your Granite City or your Rock Bottom. And my goodness, the beer was actually really delicious. I walked away very impressed with the beer, and they are not brewing it there. You know, it's at the main facility of Voodoo. But this was the first Voodoo location here in Wisconsin. Their Ecto Cooler Sour was probably my favorite. But I would drink all 4 of the beers again. I also had a Golden Rye IPA, a light lager, and a brown ale. that were all very good. The food looked really, really good. Prices were a little bit more than what, I would say I expected. But to be honest, downtown Delafield with food and stuff, I'm not totally shocked by any stretch. But yeah, I was, pleasantly surprised by that. And like I said, honorable mention, I had a great time at Titletown, and my last visit to 1840 was, both emotional, but also going to be one of the highlights in terms of my Wisconsin brewery visits this year. But yeah, overall, nice little start to the year here. And I know we're going to talk here soon about what me and you are hopefully going to get to some more new spots coming up still.
And lastly, certainly not leastly, the last of the 6-pack here that we're drinking is the Near Future. And for the near future, we mean for the rest, basically the rest of 25. We might have to talk about the rest, we're jumping a little bit on 26, but so number one is let's talk about this real quick, is so these are the ones that we are keeping our fingers crossed for the end of the 2025, y'all. Real quick, we got Vault and Boulder Junction, I believe, coming in here real soon, coming in hot. Bull Falls is basically coming in hot there with their with the beer garden almost already open. Tailwinds is actually sitting there. They're trying. Brewed Omen is coming into. We don't know about Radex and Derriere and Mob. They probably will be put off to the back end of this year. And the Hop Yard, not sure what's going on with that. That feels like it was hot, but I'm not sure. But yeah, look, y'all, we have all these Gravity Box. We already spoke on them. So we have all these, y'all, just sitting here. Little Port we should have put on here. I forgot. Let's mention Little Port. But also, what's that G over there?
That's the Gnarly Cedar. The opening up there.
Gnarly Cedar.
They posted, was it in May, that they were hoping to open in in August here, but we haven't heard anything else. So I'm thinking that maybe pushed off. But yeah, we'll see. Cause Hop Yard initially, there was articles written that Hop Yard had been hoping to open this secondary tap room in Menominee Falls this past weekend. And that did not happen. So I would guess it's any day now. And Lombardi, I feel like, is probably going to happen in the next month ish. So, and it does seem like you said, Boulder Junction Vault 202, I think, is knocking on the door. Boulder still might be a touch out. We'll see. And yeah, I feel I think we were talking before, Mobcraft, I feel like it's just going to come out of the blue, and it's just going to be a thing that they're all prepared, and then they're just going to get the okay, and it's just going to happen. I think we thought Brewed Omen might have happened a little bit quicker, but we're, patiently waiting. And Radix, I do think, like I said, when we talked about the articles and what they were saying, one of them was hoping for late summer, and then the wife, who is actually in charge of the business, she's like, probably more like November. So we're hoping for the end of 2025. But as we have learned with multiple of these, what you announce and what actually what you first announce and what you hope for and what actually happens are very commonly two different things.
Amen.
So we are hoping to get good news on all of these, though, because if all of these do open before the end of 2025, Greg, that's a pretty hefty helping, especially considering that on this list, only one of them is a secondary location for something else. Two of them, Mobcraft and Mobcraft and Bull Falls, are rejuvenating ones. Gnarly Cedar is technically moving, but you have Vault, Tailwinds, Lombardi, Brewed Omen, Radix, Derriere, Boulder Junction. None of those places have had their own facility, like brewing, tap room, and everything, that are all hopefully opening doors here in the next several months.
Amen. And now, can't forget about these, because they're longer out, y'all. But they're the announcements. Most of these are actually the announcements. Apostle's been going on forever, and Shatterglass we're not sure of. That's been going on forever. Yeah, there's movement, and I believe, in all of them, but Shatterglass is the one. I rolled up there to see what was going on, y'all, and there was nothing anywhere near anything.
Bill though helped us with Lost Apostle.
We'll see. But yeah, these are all further down the line, and we're looking forward to them. Also, y'all. So, real quick, Joel. You have an announcement.
Oh yeah. I've been doing all these book signings, but this is going to be a little bit different. I am going to be at the Makers Market, the Summer Makers Market at Eagle Park in Muskego, this Saturday, August 2nd, from noon to 5. I will be there with my book, signing copies and whatnot, and chatting about the beer. This is not just an event with me. This is a full-on, local market type of thing. There's going to be all sorts of things that people will be selling. I'm sure you will also be able to enjoy plenty of the good beer and food that they have down there. So turn out, and even if you don't buy a book, you're probably going to find something that you like there. So excited about going down there on Saturday.
Sounds good. I hope y'all. I wish y'all good weather.
Yes. Well, I have an inside table, Greg. So I'm golden.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of inside, some places I would love to get inside this year are both falls. This is my short list for the fall, y'all. There will probably be more added, and I won't be able to make all of these. This is an ambitious list, but I definitely will be knocking off some of these. No order. Bull Falls, Hoya House. I was almost there last Saturday. I just didn't make the extra 15 miles, so they're kind of closest. Boulder Junction, I'm gonna have to make a big rush up to 4 hours away, but I'm really looking forward to them. Fond du Lac, Joel's visit has Joel got there first, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm going to be there soon. We got Cocoon, never been. Sawmill has invited Sawmill and Hop Hoya, or Hop House have invited us. So we want to come there. Hillsborough invited us too, and Vault has invited us too. So, that's my short list. I hope to get to many, if all of them, on top of the ones that I always frequent. Joel, do you have a short list? I didn't give Joel time to make a beautiful graphic, but I know he has some people. I know you have some. I know Tailwinds is on yours, and I didn't put Tailwinds on mine, but I would love I'll be looking at that one.
So I don't know. I need to go look to see if they made a post. I just had someone comment on my Instagram live stream that Vault 202, their grand opening is August 6th. So may need to confirm that, but that is what someone just commented.
Next Wednesday.
So shout out. We need to confirm that and everything. But that would be really cool if that is the case. But yeah, likewise. I mean, I'm hoping that once Brewed Omen opens up in Hartford, able to go kind of pair and drive out towards Hoya Hop House, because they're kind of, if I could pair those two up, it makes the drive out to Hoya Hop House a little bit easier for me. So I am hoping though that Hoya Hop House does happen. I would love to get up to Vault 202. We'll see if I can get all the way up to Appleton. Once school year starts, it kind of depends how things go with with weekends and whatnot. I know I'd like to get up to the Two Rivers in Manitowoc. I really want to go to Cool City to check out their food flights. And then the one brewery in Manitowoc that I've not been to is Craft Creek. So there's a couple up that way that I can go and do, and not too far off the beaten path. There's also, remember, Yard 65 in Kiel. So, there's a handful of spots. And then obviously we already talked about, and I'm seeing that was from Scott's mouth himself is what they said. So that must be the real deal. So yeah, I'm optimistic that I'm able to, these Milwaukee openings are going to happen pretty soon. Once Hop Yard happens, in Menominee Falls, and shout out LTB beer guy Eric Hessel is who shout out if he's watching right now. He's the one that commented that. So appreciate the information. And yeah, so Lombardi, the Mobcraft, the ones in Milwaukee that are going to be opening, and like you said, Tailwinds, whenever that comes to pass, I'd like to get down there as well to give some insight. So,
well, on that note, thank you, Joel, for joining us on the first Mixed Six for the Badger Beer Report. We hope to bring you, when it's appropriate, we will bring you more of the Mixed Six. But until then, y'all can check us out at badgerbeerreport.com. Also on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Of course, please subscribe and share if you like our content. And Joel and I will be back probably next week with a brewery report. We got some things. It's actually been a lull kind of in the in the sphere lately, and that's why Joel said that was another reason why this opened up, or this opportunity opened up. Normally we'd be doing a brewery report, but I figured I wanted to, Joel and I have been doing. We've all been doing this pretty hard at the Badger Beer Report, but Joel and I have been the public face for at least the first half of 2025 for the most part. I just felt that we should just get on and talk about what we've seen and what we're interested in and what we feel is going to be happening. So I feel, Joel, we might have to brace a little bit for the second half of 2025, but we have so much wonderful things to look forward to, up until including y'all Vault announcing, or we getting a word on Vault's opening next Wednesday while we're on a live stream. And Joel, please check out Joel's podcast on our Spotify and our Facebook with Scott from Vault 202. Also, our friends at McFleshman's, they got one with Scott too, and I believe they have a collab beer with Scott, and Scott has like 5 collab beers with all banging breweries. Yeah. So if y'all could get near Vault 202 or Appleton by next Wednesday, it's probably a soft opening. I could be wrong, because that's how breweries do this. They do the soft opening, then they do grand opening, but whatever. Going to be good. They got Sway, McFleshman's, I think Anapee. They've just been working hard before they even open. So it's just going to be, and the space looks amazing. So we're just excited. So we'll probably see you next week, maybe if not the week after, for a full brewery report. But until then, Joel and I want to thank you for y'all's support. Please like and share and subscribe. And we will see you on the next Mix 6 Badger Beer Report. We're also, or maybe it won't be Joel and I, but we'll see Joel and I on the next Badger Beer Brewery Report for sure, because that's our thing. So thanks, Joel.
Yep.